friends, and welcome back to Kev's Hobby Showcase. I'm, of course, Kevin. You may have also seen me on Tabletop Jones Productions, where John and I are the two idiots playing board games. And today, well, today for me is an exciting day. I'm going to start to read the story that I just finished a little while ago. A nice, big epic story called A New Age of Heroes. It's a story that I broke up into 5 parts, five different, different ideas, and best way to describe it is you could say this is my version of an MCU. I know I've mentioned this many times before, but today it becomes reality. Now, the copyright is still pending, so I'm not ready to publish it yet, but I am ready to read it here. So let's get started with this, right? Okay, so let's get started. Society collapsed in the 21st century. After decades of pressure from politicians, the media, and those with influence, the people of the world finally reached their breaking point. Families turned against each other. Religions were attacked. It became every person for themselves. The chaos lasted for decades. Then finally, a small group of people started to bring back the old ways. The family unit became sacred again. Religions once again became beacons of morality. People started treating each other with respect. The majority of the world's population returned to the old ways, but not all. In the time of chaos, military leaders started back in their own secret projects. One was General Greg Summers. He found a team of scientists led by Dr. Zach Yeltsing. Dr. Yeltsing was an expert in cybernetics. He felt that the human body could be used as a vessel for cybernetic components, that the natural impulses in the human body could provide the necessary power to operate cybernetic limbs and enhancements, that along with a fusion battery. They both started a program promising to turn soldiers into super soldiers. Throughout the military branches, the offers were made without the commitment of when the procedure would start. So none of these soldiers knew it was when they were mortally wounded and that they would be chosen. It was then that one of Dr. Yeltsing's colleagues, Dr. Shelby Fuchs, a geneticist, was brought in to heal parts of the body still needed and to keep subjects alive. It was believed that they still needed the soldiers alive, although the idea of undead soldiers excited General Summers. The trial and error lasted for many years while the old ways were slowly coming back to society. Knowing this whole project would be deemed immoral, it was kept secret under penalty of death. Now there were 4 subjects ready for trial runs on their new cyborg bodies. All their senses were enhanced, their strength was increased, as well as their agility. They had unlimited access to the internet and unlimited capacity for data storage within themselves. Also, with their cybernetic systems, they can link their minds together and communicate without making a sound. They also had code installed into their cybernetics that kept them loyal to the general. But what would happen if said code were to be deleted? Chapter 1. Rebirth. Adam runs through the simulation his commander has put before him. He was named the leader of this squad, and he feels an overwhelming need to impress. Adam and his squad were outfitted with their cybernetic components and given their body armor. The one thing left to do was prove they were worthy of them. The simulation was held in a remote part of their secret base. Large debris was scattered to provide random cover. It was a maze of random junk that the cyber soldiers used to simulate any possible mission they would be a part of. Off in the distance was an observation tower that recorded the activities in the simulation. Adam signals to Betty, who in turn relays a silent order to Charlie and Danny. The 4 of them make up the unit of the first cyber soldiers. Clad in their titanium armor, they approach their target. Their cybernetic components contain the most state-of-the-art technology, one of which is a program that makes the ultimate camouflage. They simply blend in with their surroundings by bending the light around them. They each aim their plasma rifles and open fire. They have been put out in the simulator against robotic opponents. The robots exploded into bright balls of light instantly. Adam advances while giving the signal to his teammates to do the same. Then they captured the objective, ending the simulation. "Okay, camouflage off," ordered General Summers. All complied, revealing them in their new cybernetic uniforms. They were all metal, including the boots, as well as big and bulky. Their armor was painted blue with gray highlights. There were many grooves etched into the plating of their armor which housed the camouflage components. Their limbs showed traces of the cybernetic implants that replaced most of their muscle tissue. Underneath the armor was a bodysuit of Kevlar, including gloves of the same material, both colored black. Their faces also showed traces of traces of the cybernetic implants that enhanced their senses and minds. All this made them the most dangerous beings on the planet, and General Summers knew it. But he wasn't worried because he knew the programming that was installed into every one of them kept them loyal. He also had their memories selectively erased. All four knew that they were the best soldiers. All these four knew was that they were the best soldiers and their life belonged to the military. Unit reporting for debriefing, ordered the general. The four proceeded to the debriefing room without question. General Summers turned to the two scientists under his command, Dr. Zach Yeltsing and Dr. Shelby Fuchs. Good work, he said. They executed their orders flawlessly. The perfect soldiers. They are ready for field deployment. Don't you want to wait for the debriefing? Asked Dr. Yeltsing. I want to see how well they're taken to the implants. Also, I need to see if the implants are causing any damage to the organic matter that's left. And let's face it, there wasn't much left in some areas, said Dr. Fuchs. I think we all just saw everything is working just fine. But okay, fine. We'll wait for the debriefing, said General Summers. General Summers was in his 40s, young for a general. He rose quickly in the ranks and was recognized several times for what he referred to as an enthusiastic approach to his orders. He got the job done using whatever means necessary, even if it was unethical. He was fit for his age, with graying hair, but he also had a temper that usually got the better of him. Dr. Yeltsing, in his 20s and always totally engrossed in his work. He had nothing else but work. His brown hair, usually in disarray, as well as his clothing. It was rumored that he slept at his desk every night and had no life outside of work. Tall and slim, he could pass for one of the soldiers. That is, if he wasn't always in a lab coat. Dr. Shelby Fuchs was no different. Although she made it a habit of always being well kept and made up, she had nothing but her work. She was slim with blonde hair. Most thought she should get out more and have a social life. But she was usually in her lab and very busy. The two doctors became as close friends as their situation would allow. The only thing they really had in common was how close they were in age. Meanwhile, in the debriefing room, the four sat in silence and waited for the general. Their cybernetic components were going through routine maintenance and program upgrades. The four had gotten used to it, but this time it was different. Each of them started seeing flashes, then random images. The four started to feel agitated. Each started to shake their heads, rub their temples, as if to soothe a headache. Then it happened. They were no longer controlled by their program. Normally, certain actions or thoughts were restricted by the programming, but now it was gone. It happened very quickly. The flashes of images were suddenly being recognized. They were memories. The four were feeling things again, and it frightened them. The general's team had been rebuilding them for months, and in all that time they felt nothing. Well, nothing but a sense of duty and obligation. What the hell? Where am I? I was in the desert. I was in a jungle. Where is my unit? Where are my men? I have a family. Where are they? I was supposed to be back home for my son's birthday. They all started to hear each other's thoughts. Then in one voice, they said 3 words. I want out. Adam immediately assumed command and ordered Charlie to break down the door to the debriefing room, while Betty and Danny took positions on either side of the door just inside the room. This all came to them naturally. It was more than just programming. It was instinct. As the cohesive unit that they are, they exited the room. The first stop was the armory. Once armed with plasma rifles and pistols, they made their way to the nearest exit. The general and his team heard their escape, but arrived after they were outside the base. What the hell happened here? Ordered the general. Quick, let's get to the control room and see if we can shut them down, said Dr. Yeltsing. When they got to the control room, the monitors showed the four making their way off the base. They were tearing through the soldiers, trying to stop them, but to their surprise, they weren't killing them, just incapacitating them. Something's wrong, said the general. They should be leaving a trail of bodies, not wounded. Wow, you sound disappointed, General. Do you care that little for those who serve under you? Everyone turned around to see Rick Snow, a newly appointed programmer to the project. At 20, he was one of the youngest on the base, though hardly looked it since he kept his brown hair short. He was staying in the background while the scientists still scrambled to gain control of the situation. What do you know about this? What have you done? Asked the general angrily. I did what had to be done. I freed those people who didn't sign up for what you did to them, who believed the lies you told them. I deleted the program you used to control them. I installed a firewall designed to block any programs that would return that control. I let them remember who they were. I took your precious toys away. The general was furious, more so than he had ever been. He looked back to the monitors in time to see the four escaping in a commandeered armored vehicle. He knew they were gone, and now he would have to find them. But he didn't know if they were ever going to be under his control again. Blinded with rage, he started barking orders. Hold him! Don't let him escape! As the subordinates held Rick against the nearest wall, the general pulled out his gun. This is the price for your betrayal. The general pointed the gun at Rick and quickly shot him in the head, killing him instantly. He watched Rick slump to the floor and felt a small measure of satisfaction. Very small. The general turned to everyone still in the room. Start the search for those four. We will not rest until they are found and brought back here. If they can't be brought back, they are to be terminated. Understand? And someone dispose of that body and clean that blood off the wall. Everyone nodded in acknowledgement and quickly went about the task of finding the four. Chapter 2. Homecoming. The four had discussed what they should do at this point. They were doing that through their links, so to anyone watching it looked like all they were doing was staring at each other and nodding. Each of the four had a strong urge to connect with their families, so it was decided that the four would go their separate ways and be with their families. They were all in a bus depot in Manhattan at Grand Central Station. They were all in disguise. They still had their armor, but wore jackets or hoodies over it. Caps were on their heads to help hide the cybernetic components visible on their heads. Each of them had a duffel bag to carry the equipment that they could remove easily. They all knew they had to try to reconnect with their loved ones. They also know that General Summers had issued an order to hunt them all down. So the four know they have to be careful and not draw attention to themselves. They all activated their camouflage and blended into their surroundings and went their separate ways. Their camouflage projected a field around them that bent the light around them, so whatever they wore and carried disappeared with them. Adam, keep out of people's way. It'll be hard for them to explain being knocked over by nothing but air. Betty, it's getting difficult. There are so many people around. Charlie, it's a little disorienting. It feels like they're walking right into us on purpose. I have to keep reminding myself that they can't see me. Danny, okay, I'm almost home. Meanwhile, back at the base, General Summers was briefing the team that was going after the four. The leader of that team was a Sergeant Lance Stryker. General Summers had a lot of admiration for Sergeant Stryker. Stryker's record was impeccable. He always found a way to complete his mission successfully. Plus, Summers felt his name was very appropriate for the task he was needed for. Sergeant Stryker was in his mid-30s, blonde hair and a military crew cut and top physical condition. He served in the Army, and when his time was up, he decided to go freelance. He became a mercenary and offered his skills to the highest bidder, and General Summers, more often than not, was that highest bidder. Stryker didn't consider himself exclusive to the general, but he had to admit the general offered the most interesting jobs. So Stryker and his team were given the full rundown of what the four were capable of. Boy, you sure know how to make a guy feel special. 4 souped-up cyborgs who can basically turn themselves invisible, can access the internet remotely for any information they need, and now realize you've been messing with their memories to turn them into drones on the battlefield. Did I miss anything? Yes, you missed the part where I said I won't tolerate failure. These assets represent millions in resources spent on them. If the enemy ever gains control over them, it would be a disaster. This project has been unknown by the government, especially the president, since its inception. Only a handful of individuals know about its existence, so you are under strict gag orders under penalty of death, and if needed, I'll do the killing myself. Now get out there and get the job done. Am I clear? Yes, sir, said Stryker and his team in unison. They started getting their gear on and choosing their weapons for the task at hand. How are we going to do this, Sarge? Asked Corporal Henry Stokes, one of Stryker's team members. Stokes, also in his 30s, served with Stryker in the Army and couldn't resist continuing that service as a mercenary. Stokes generally looked young for his age, especially when planning a mercenary job. Then he looked much older. He was tall, over 6 foot, dark hair, also in military crew cut, and in the best physical shape he could be in. Stryker always made sure his men were in top physical shape. We find them first, Stokes. Then we observe to see what they're capable of. Then we strike. Summers wants this done quick, but we're not disposable. we do this right or not at all. He can threaten all he wants. I still know some people in the government who can deal with officers like him. So as Sergeant Stryker and his team are getting ready to hunt down the four have each found their families and are deciding what to do. The link they all share is still strong, even over the great distances that separate them. The conversation wasn't what they were originally expecting it to be. They were all expecting to experience joyous reunions for each of them. Instead, it has taken a most serious tone. Adam, so we all found our families. Why are we hesitating? Betty, we all saw the order. We are to be retrieved or killed. Charlie, General Summers will never stop trying to get us back. Danny, I've seen his service record. It's not good. Unnecessary casualties in all of his operations. He was given this project mostly to get him out of the field. I'm sharing his file in the link. They all read through General Summers' file. They only just now realized how fast they all were able to do that. Charlie, great, now we're even reading like computers. Adam, well, at least it saves time. This general is reckless. If we try to reconnect with our families, he'll kill them. Betty, does anyone know how long we've been gone? My kid seems a lot older than I remember them. Danny, I don't want to say anything, but we have been gone a long time. Betty, how long? Danny, 8 years, give or take a few months. All four could feel the anguish flowing through the link, as if the danger wasn't enough. Now, because of the length of time that has passed, none of the four can be with their families again. The four observed a little while longer. They all saw their spouses had moved on and remarried. The kids have grown up and moved on. Their parents, some still grieving, had learned to accept that their children were gone. Adam, we can't do this to them. I know we all want to go home, but that home is gone. We have to move on too. Reluctantly, the four agreed. Not only was it too dangerous for their families, but the psychological damage they would cause by revealing themselves would be too great. We need to regroup, said Adam. We need to go to a place where we could hide in plain sight, where people who look out of the ordinary can still blend in. New York, said Danny. Any objections? I know we just came from there, so if anyone has a problem with it, now is the time to speak up. Okay, New York it is, said Adam. Keep using the code names for now. Let's keep our real identities a secret. We don't know who can monitor us, and I'm sure we all want to keep our families safe. The four were all in agreement and started to make their way to New York. It was good to regroup there, not only because they could hide effectively, but because they all know a few warehouses with weapons, equipment, and vehicles that they can use. When the collapse happened, some of these warehouses were boarded up and forgotten about. Now the four will have what they need to strike back at General Summers as long as the strike team doesn't get to them first. Chapter 3. United. The four had made their way to New York with the utmost caution. Their camouflage abilities in their armor kept them from being discovered. General Summers' strike team had eyes everywhere, but the four successfully eluded them, for now. The four weren't delusional. They knew any slip-up would result in an immediate attack. Once in Manhattan, the four converged on a remote section of the island. They began at Grand Central Station and headed north. Their destination was an industrial area known to a few as the Warehouse District. It was there that many different organizations, as well as the military, set up secret lairs. After the fall, the city's authorities just didn't have the manpower to cover and monitor every square inch of the city. So commercial and industrial areas were neglected in favor of residential areas getting the most security. Within the most abandoned of the commercial area was the warehouse, formerly run by the military. It was undermanned, so when citizens attacked the area desperately searching for food, clothing, and other amenities, it was locked up tight and abandoned. This is the first choice for the four. It was child's play for Adam to pick the lock on the door to get into the warehouse. Once inside, the four started to look around and marveled at what they had found. Weapons as advanced as any they had trained on. All types of gear, all compatible to their cybernetic components. Armored cars and trucks, armored motorcycles, and even aircraft. An armored transport carrier completely armed with gun and missile racks. All comparable to what they were trained to use. The best was yet to come. As the four inspected each and every item they found, their internet link automatically downloaded instructions on how to use them. It was as if this warehouse was meant for them to find. I can sense what you are all feeling, said Adam. We were meant to get these weapons and everything else here. This warehouse was equipped before the fall. The program was in its beginning stage, and then General Summers prepared many of these warehouses across the country. But the information was lost, deleted. So we should have a lot of time before we're discovered. How can you be sure? Asked Charlie. Because I deleted it from the general's database once I found out about these warehouses. His database was damaged when society collapsed. Too many hackers acting as social justice warriors. And he has been trying to recover this information for years. But our cyberlinks are very strong and efficient, and I am sure he was planning to use us to retrieve the information. So as long as we're careful, we can use this place as a home base for now. Home, said Betty. I never thought I would use that word again. So how long do we have here? Asked Danny. Could be days, weeks, years. We'll never be sure how long it will take them to find us. So always be ready to move. I have the locations of all the warehouses. There are only 5 that are equipped this well. I'm putting that up in the link. Wow, Adam, these 5 are so far apart, said Betty. Different cities and different time zones. If we must run, we'll have to run far. You sure we can do this? I know we can. Now let's organize everything so we can make our plan. Plan for what? Asked Charlie. To attack the general's base and stop the program. The 4 all nodded in agreement. They may not have shown excitement, but they were all eager to get started. As they searched through the warehouse, they found an area they could use as a locker room. They also found storage cages they could use to store the guns and rifles, as well as any other weapons and gear they found stored here. They thoroughly checked out the vehicles next. All the armored cars and trucks were in perfect working order. They lined them up near the entrance, large enough to accommodate them. The motorcycles were next. There were more than enough for the 4, about a dozen of them. They each took their time determining which one was their favorite. Last was the aircraft. They discovered it had vertical takeoff and landing capacity, which led them to discover that the roof of the warehouse retracts to let the aircraft in and out. Inside the aircraft was a wonder of technology. Weapon systems, tracking equipment, a stealth mode and it can travel at Mach speeds. The 4 felt that it needed a name. It was decided by the 4 to name their new aircraft Esther. Since the lack of imagination led to their names to be in the order of the alphabet, then a name starting with E seemed appropriate, as well as a private joke between the 4. For most of the day, the 4 arranged the warehouse according to their needs. The last was living quarters. These were basically the offices that were used by the former guards that kept this place secret for so long. So these offices, conference rooms, and lounges became the living spaces for the 4. They all didn't need to sleep much, but wanted to at least do it in comfort when they did. Although they had nothing to personalize it, it was home for now. The 4 knew that at any moment they might have to evacuate, but the one thing they all agreed was that all this equipment shouldn't fall back into the hands of the general. So the 4 set explosives all over the warehouse, only to be detonated if they had to flee, and any one of them could set it off. They just had to send the keyword through the link to the main computer in the place. Lacking. So now the base was all set up and arranged, so the 4 met in the main computer room to formulate a plan to strike at the general. The room was set apart from the living quarters and had a very powerful computer system. The 4 first severed any links that would alert the general before they used this computer. Okay, so we're here in New York, and the general's base is west of us in New Jersey. The base is in a remote area, just like we are. I guess the general doesn't like people. All joking aside, Danny, what will we need to breach the base? I want it to be rubble when we're done. Okay, Adam, I'm getting to that. According to the blueprints, we'll need some heavy ordnance to breach the walls, but once inside, ordinary explosives should do the job. We'll need a lot of it, though. What about resistance? Asked Betty. Most of the general's forces are looking for us, so there shouldn't be much of that. Also, he employed a strike team to get us, led by a Sergeant Lance Stryker. I looked up his bio. He has an incredible record for success. The general uses him and his team a lot. He might be a problem if we encounter him. Then let's make sure we don't, said Adam. Adam pointed to a section of the blueprint. We'll force our way in here. Set up charges on the main structure points. Make our way out and then detonate. We all have the layout of the base in our stored memory, so we'll use these abilities that they forced on us against them. Poetic justice, if you ask me. The 4 all nodded in agreement. Okay, everybody, rest, recharge, and we'll all take off in the morning. We'll use Esther to get there. Boss, said Danny, funny you should use the word recharge. I think we all forgot something major about us. The fusion battery we all have in our chests. I know we all like to ignore it, but it's there. I've been looking up how to maintain it, so we all don't become walking nuclear bombs. We have all the equipment here to do that, so at least once a week we all need to perform routine maintenance to keep them functional. What happens if we don't? Asked Adam. Boom. Great, another thing to worry about, thought Adam. I'll put it on this ever-growing list of things we have to deal with. So the four went to their private rooms, each with equipment to maintain their fusion batteries, each with the tasks needed to complete their mission in the morning, each with a sense of hope that the general and his program will be stopped. All they had to do was succeed in their mission. Chapter 4. First Strike. In the overnight hours, the four loaded Esther with what they thought they would need and took off. They engaged the stealth mode of the aircraft and headed towards the general's base. Through the link, they all shared. They looked over the blueprints of the base, so they all knew the plan. The four were confident they would bring a swift end to this conflict. They felt they were stronger, better equipped, and most of all, they felt their plan couldn't fail. Meanwhile, in the general's base, Summers and the people under his command had been under constant state of alert. Soldiers were constantly patrolling the grounds. All armored vehicles were ready for battle. All aircraft were on alert for immediate takeoff. But that wasn't all Summers had. He also had technology that would negate the camouflage abilities of the four in their aircraft. Sir, we have an incoming craft from the east. It just appeared out of nowhere. Scans show it's advanced vertical takeoff craft. I'm running it through the computers now. Summers leaned in to see what the computer identified the aircraft as. I know what that is. It's one of the planes we designed for my cyber soldiers. They found one of our warehouses. After the fall, some of our computer systems weren't protected and that data was lost. The location of the warehouses was just one of them. It was just one item of information we could never recover. I would really like to know how they found out about them. Are all weapons ready? Yes, sir, all his technicians replied. Excellent. Then send out the pulse to negate their camouflage so they can't disappear again, and fire at will. Aboard Esther, the four started to see emergency alerts flashing all over the aircraft. Danny, what's all this? What's going on? Adam, they sent out a pulse that's negating our camouflage. We can't turn invisible again. Okay, Betty, Charlie, be ready to jump out with me to engage the enemy. Danny, continue piloting Esther and get us as close as you can. Then provide air support. Looks like we lost the element of surprise. You got it, boss, said Danny. Yes, sir, replied Betty and Charlie in unison. The base opened fire on Esther and the four. Danny was able to evade most of the shots, but some were connecting. Explosions were all around the aircraft, making it hard to see how close the four were to the base. Esther is taking a hell of a pounding, said Danny. I'm not sure how much more she can take. We're as close as we're going to get, Adam. Let's get to it. We're as close as we're going to get, said Adam. Let's get to it. So 3 of the 4 jumped out. They were closer than they thought to the base. They reached the door they were going to breach faster than they thought, but their good fortune ended there. Adam, I'm trying the code cracker we developed to get in. It's not working. Try again, Charlie. Betty, you and I will cover Charlie. Copy that. We have a lot of incoming. What have we got? Mostly troops, but I'm detecting armored trucks. Charlie, how are we on that door? No good. None of the ciphers are working. I'm going to blow it down. I thought we analyzed the tech from the blueprint plans. Our code cracker should have worked. Fire in the hole, shouted Charlie as the explosive he set at the door detonated. It burst into a brilliantly bright flash, but to their dismay, the door held. It was a bit dented, but it held. The plans were false, a lie. We're not equipped to get this mission done. It was misinformation. Adam knew now the plans were a trap. The general must have filed false plans into the computers and never entered the actual ones. But now the only thing he knew was that they were in trouble. Damn, we have to retreat. This mission went from a first strike to a suicide. We need to regroup. A nearby explosion knocked all 3 of them down. They all got up quickly and started to run. Danny, come get us. We have to run. Yeah, I got that through the link. Give me a few. I'm getting knocked around a lot up here. Esther's taking some damage. How bad? Not so bad that we can't get out of here, but bad enough that we'll need to do repairs for at least a week. Make it to the fence line. I'll pick you all up there. Copy that. Okay, everyone, do what you have to do to make it to the fence line. Adam, Betty, and Charlie started running to meet Danny. All weapons were trained on them and firing. Their body armor was taking a pounding but holding. Their bodies, however, were sustaining injuries. A heavy shell exploded near them, sending them flying in the air. The landings were hard and far from graceful. Ribs were breaking and limbs were straining. But through it all, they kept running. After what felt like an eternity of running, they made it to Esther. They all boarded, and Danny immediately took off. I'm going to head out in a different direction than we came in, so we don't give away where we came from. When I can re-engage the camouflage, we'll head home. Good work. Danny looked back to see how his team was doing. Adam was the only one on his feet. His armor was severely dented and covered in burn marks. Betty and Charlie were pretty much the same, but looked wearier. Betty was attending to Charlie, who was on a stretcher. They all had busted ribs and muscle damage, but they were all alive. Meanwhile, General Summers was pleased with what he had witnessed. He just saw that he had an answer to the Four's camouflage. He saw that the base was stronger than he thought, and his forces could defeat the Four. Now all he needed was for Sergeant Stryker and his team to find the Four and end this. Good work, everyone, he said. Now we know they aren't unbeatable. Imagine what a little misinformation can accomplish. Purge all information about this place from the internet. Let's see how they operate blind. The technician started the task, and the general just ordered. All information was erased, whether it was an official document, a rumor from an independent blogger, or misinformation planted by the general himself. All of it was erased. After a long flight, the Four reached their base and disembarked from Esther. They all had agreed to get some rest and heal before discussing what to do next. To their surprise, there seemed to be someone in their base. What the hell? Okay, everyone, let's find out who's here. We'll rest after. No need for that, Adam. I have no intention of hiding from you all. In fact, I can be of use to you four. All four aimed their weapons at the stranger that just appeared in front of them. He seemed young, still in his 20s. He was pale with brown hair and gray eyes. He was shorter than all of the four, but showed confidence that made them feel a little smaller. Who are you? Asked Adam. My name is Larry Snow. My brother Rick was the one responsible for waking you four up. If he hadn't, you would all be playthings of General Summers. My brother and I knew about these warehouses. I, in fact, am using one of them now. I saw that this one was in use and was hoping that it was you four who were here. What do you want? I want what you four want. To stop General Summers in this project. To finish what my brother started. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed that. That is the beginning of my story. Like I said, the first part of it. What I did was I created 5 parts to the story for the New Age of Heroes, and each one has 8 chapters. So I have decided to read 4 chapters at a time. Because if I go one at a time, I'm only doing this once a month. If I do one at a time, well, this will take forever. Besides, I feel it's better to give more than just one chapter at a time. And as you can see, what do we have? So we have these cyber soldiers that have woken up and are now trying to find their way in the world, but they realize that the general that created them has to be stopped. And now where we're leaving off is they tried to stop him, but failed. So tune in next time. Next month, first week of the month. Will they attack again? Will they succeed? What will happen to these cyber soldiers? And what will happen with Larry Snow, who has now just found them? What will the general do? All these questions will be answered next month. All right, so tune in again, and I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe, and share. Share this video as much as possible. I do enjoy writing. I do enjoy reading what I write. Granted, my reading out loud could get better, but I'll improve. And one of these days, I will have illustrations to show you. One thing I hope that I was able to do, because I'm going to try to do it, but I'm going to try to put the closed captioning on so you could at least see the words. Although I have learned that sometimes it puts in other words, so I'm going to have to monitor that, and because there was a little incident with one of our Tabletop Jones Productions videos where a certain word was put up. Wasn't a nice word, and I immediately apologized for it. We did miss it. But anyway, I'm going to try to do my best with this, and so again, tune in next month. Like, subscribe, share. Please go to Tabletop Jones, do the same there. Like, subscribe, share. We're trying to reach as many people as possible, trying to broaden our audience. I would love for this story to reach as many people as possible. I currently have 64 subscribers. I would like to reach 75 very soon. And if this story actually helps, so be it. All right, so anyway, thank you again for watching. Thank you again for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day, and I will see you again. And tune in next month for the next part of New Age of Heroes.